That's right. Got to get the blood flowing. You heard two great people with great content and information. I'm going to also share some pearls, some wisdom, some tips to this audience, and hopefully you find them that way. How many people have heard of DISC or utilize DISC in their practice right now? A couple hands over here. Four. I got four, right? You actually practice it and use it in your organization?
Not an organization anymore.
Not, okay. All right. Ladies in organization, right? Okay, very well. I'll call on you. You'll be my resident expert. All right. So just a little bit about me, kind of a busy slide. I too am a graduate of Florida University. Spent a lot of time in corporate America with a lot of big name pharmaceutical companies. I am was a legalized drug pusher for these big companies and sold a lot of products for them over my time. My last stint was in the financial sector before I started my business a year ago. Actually, it's my second year presenting to you guys, so thank you for having me back. I have an MBA. I've been a practice leader in a lot of different organizations, starting in college, actually before then, but in college, as well as in corporate America. So what I'm going to share with you hopefully will be some pearls, some tips, some nuggets, some things that I've learned along the way about leadership and communication. And I'm going to tie it to your world. I'm going to tie it to the community you try to engage with. I'm going to tie it to the people that you lead and manage, and the people that you're probably struggling with right now, because you know back at the shop when I start throwing up some of these descriptors, certain things are going to go off in your mind and certain factors are going to raise, and we need to know how to effectively deal with them, because those are the people that's going to help you engage the community, market the community, and get the information that you need to be successful in the programs that you're trying to run out there. So let me ask you this real quick. Anybody, what do you want to get out of this workshop? Real quick, anybody? Any
Knowledge.
suggestion? Huh?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. What's your name, ma'am?
Denise.
Denise. You already done DISC, right? Have you done DISC?
Yeah, I have.
You have. When's the last time you had your DISC profile done?
Over a decade ago.
Okay. You get one free assessment from me. Thank you for being my first volunteer today. Thank you. See me after the program and have something for you, okay? DISC has been, if it's been a while, DISC has been enhanced, and there are about 45 pages now to the DISC report. And it's more than just knowing the quadrant that you reside in. It's your value proposition. It's who you are as a person, your strengths and your characteristics. It's also your opportunity points. So when you guys start to either write evaluations or go in for an evaluation next week, you're going to be able to tell your boss what your value proposition is to that organization. And I'm going to give that to you for free.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So, anybody else? I don't have another one. Somebody else. What do you want to get to this?
Empowering coworkers.
Okay, like it. Absolutely. You know how to talk to them, you can empower them, right? All right, what else? I think I can hit that for you. Yes, ma'am?
Communicating effectively.
Yes, absolutely. We'll give you some tips. This workshop will be, this slide point will be available to you after, so you can go back through it. I'm always open for consultations and feedback. One more, anything else before I move on? Yes, ma'am?
Team building.
Team building, absolutely. That's what we do. All right. So, your environment probably sounds something like this here. Who in this room is leading a team? How many leaders in here? How many managers actually lead a team of more than one person? So, okay, we got it. Okay, all right. So right now, your team, when we start talking about this, you're going to have your performers and your non-performers. You already know who your problem kids are, right? That we call them, right? So performers and non-performers. Okay. Let me ask you this: who's building the team? Meaning we got somebody that may not make it. I have to build a team, or I'm brand new. I'm tasked with building a team. Or I want to build a team. Anybody tasked with that? Building the team. All right. Okay, got some team builders. Okay, this is going to be applicable to you because you're going to need to understand who you're putting on your team, what you're putting on your team, why you're putting them on your team, and how to put them on your team so that you're effective in coaching them. Managers are not managers. Leaders aren't leaders. We are coaches. And we have to coach the performance. We fail when we do not optimize our coachability or know how to coach the subject. I'm going to give you some pearls and some tips that may help you with that. And then who wants to communicate more effectively? Who wants to communicate more effectively, right? Helping everybody. I'll give you something for everybody in the room to walk away with. Okay. So we're going to recognize some characteristic traits of each behavioral style. We're going to identify your behavioral styles. It's going to do a small little self-identification. I usually have the group move around, but I'm not going to do that for the sake of time. But I'm going to ask you to visually go someplace with me and put yourself in a certain box and quadrant in this room and then we're gonna flip it, and when I flip it, you'll understand what I mean by that. And we're gonna develop and practice thoughtful and deliberate adaptability. So I'm gonna tell you a few things about adaptability. So when you're interacting with someone, the thing now is code switching. It's not quite code switching, but it is being able to adapt to that person, understand where they are, and meet them where they are and communicate effectively. So we're gonna give you some tips on that as well. So people generally make this mistake of assuming that others interact and think the same way they do. We all do that. I think I see everybody nodding here. We make that mistake. So the golden rule is, and we've always been taught this, is treat others the way you would like to be treated, right? Treat them the way you like to be treated. Well, I'm gonna challenge you to think about that with the platinum rule. I'm gonna give you some pearls and tips on how to treat people on how they wanna be treated. When you recognize their behaviors and their characteristics, and you can identify with that, and begin to give them either information, direction, feedback, or development conversations, you're gonna be able to do it in a way that they're not gonna leave that meeting not knowing what you're saying. Not missing it completely because you didn't quite understand the dynamic of that person's behavior and how they process communication. So we're gonna give you some tips on that, and I'll help you with that. So what this is simple, it's practical, it's easily rememberable, and it's universally acceptable. It's been around for a long time. It's been enhanced by a number of different organizations. I prefer this one. I'm very comfortable with what the feedback gives me and will give you if you proceed with this. It's needs motivated. So we're not talking about really behavior, but it's needs motivated. It's observable behavior. That's what I need you to understand. This is observable. Okay, you're gonna be able to visualize some things here about this. And it's emotion. It's a combination of nature, it's inherent, and it's nurture, what you have learned. And we exhibit it each and every day on these jobs that we go to, believe it or not. You are showing it, you're exhibiting it, and when we start to talk about some of these characteristics, you're gonna be like, okay, that makes sense. Now, why is that person having challenge with how I say things or how I present things? Maybe I need to change my style to meet them where they are so that it's more receptive. What DISC is not, we're not going to talk about intelligence. It's not about measuring someone's intelligence, their skills, their education or experience or indicators of value. This is not that assessment. This is not that survey. So let's get that out of mind. So let's do a little quick self-analysis here. Whenever I work with teams, leaders, groups, organizations, I always go into a room and I divide it up into 4 parts. And we're gonna divide this room in about 4 parts. So up until about right here, just think of this as the D section, right over here, that's the D. This section over here is gonna be the I section, right here. Over here is gonna be my S section or S area. And from about here up will be the C area, D-I-S-C. So now what I want you to do is think about some things I'm about to say, 2 questions I'm about to ask, and based on that, you're gonna probably end up on one of these quadrants in the room. And I'm gonna ask you to hold that to yourself. I'm gonna ask you to self-disclose. But when I do this for organizations as part of team building, we actually walk through this exercise and get people moving around. It's very interactive. And then once they self-diagnose, I actually give them their results. And then we find out what you really know about yourself, if you truly know yourself, if you truly have followed the directions. So, self-analysis. Think about this. In your communications, someone observing you, are you direct or indirect? So if you are more of a direct communicator, you're kind of over in here. If you're kind of indirect, you're over here. So we have a 50-50 split right now, right? So it's either a D or an I, or an S and a C on that side of the room. So keep in mind where you are. Now, in your communication, are you guarded or are you open? Open, you can be social butterflies, easy to get to know, quick chat, that kind of thing. So now, the paradigm is drawn between this area and the back area. Okay? So if you're more of a guarded, you're somewhere between a D and a C. And if you're more open, you're somewhere between an I and an S. So I'm gonna ask you to put those 2 things together right now in your mind, and you have to be in that quadrant and determine which particular area that you're in right now. Either you're gonna be a D, I, S, or C. Everybody clear on that? Everybody clear?
Yes, sir.
You know which box you're in?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody clear? Anybody need anything else? Okay, we won't do the big reveal here because you've not done this assessment, but more importantly, we're gonna move on through here. So, you've just identified yourself. Now what I want you to do is think about, for those that manage teams, building teams, working on teams with people right now, think of a person that maybe you're having a challenge with, someone that's hard, that you just can't quite get through, you don't know if they get it or not, right? And I want you to think about that because those are gonna be some of the indicators to now put them into one of these respective areas. You may wanna write that person or initials down and put them in and write a little C or S or D right by their name. Because I'm gonna give you some characteristics in a minute and see if that matches up with that particular person and what you may observe about them, okay? So this is the flip. This is where we're gonna be able to identify some things that you may need to know and some of the challenges that you may be having. So everybody's clear. First of all, you self-identified, you know who you are. Now I've asked you to think about someone either on your team, you're trying to lead, or you wanna know something else on how to communicate with the person you're having a challenge with. So our quadrant pretty much looks like this, D, I, S, and C. So, we did between garden and open, all of that stuff, so let's finish building all this out. We've done all of this. So let's talk about the D, the dominance, right? Those would be the people that identify themselves in this little area right in here. They like problems and challenges. Let's talk about I, influencers. Those are my people in context. Those are the people that are the rainmakers. They are out social butterflying, knowing people that they're typically sometimes salespeople. Those are your influencers. The steadiness in that corner will be pace and consistency. As steady as she goes, right? Not too high, not too low, but it's a long-term shift. It's a long ship being sailed going down there. Everybody's laughing now because one of these boxes is starting to talk to some of you in this room, I know. So the contentious are my procedures and constraints. I love people in the C box because they help balance me. If you haven't figured out yet, I'm over here in the I box, right here. I need people over here on my team when I'm building my team to be C's and S. I need somebody steady that's gonna be consistent, and I need the conscientious people because those are the people that have all the answers, and you have to pull the answers out. And if you're a D or an I, and you don't know if you got S or C's on your team, then usually the person sitting around the conference table have the least to say. And I always identify who those people are. And I quietly, not offensively, walk up to them and say, hey, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts? Because they analyze, those are analyzers, they're processors. And sometimes they don't have the answers right there. They need time to process. That's a valuable thing. Because eyes are flying all over the place. The D's are like, give it to me right now. Just bullet points, give it to me right now. I don't have time for this. Bullet points. I don't want to read an essay. I want 3 bullet points. Tell me what the problem is, right? You go with a C, man, those guys are, man, if they come at you, they document, they're gonna blow you away. They're gonna blow you away. Trust me. So, identifying these 4 styles here when you're working with people. Now, let me try to get this here a little, so we can get that. I don't know what is going on. This keeps going on. Let me stop. I really messed up something. So in this box here, we have what we know in the D. These are our risk takers. These are forceful. They come across sometimes as being a little forceful. They come across as being very decisive. They're gonna make a decision. That's the one thing about it. They're gonna make a decision, right or wrong, it's gonna be made. Okay, we've got people that are direct. We have people that are self-reliant and competitive. Big time competitive. They wanna win. They don't care what it is. Whatever is in office, they wanna win. They wanna see the name up there. Your eyes, okay, those are the people that are influential, of course. Those are the people that are your social people, optimistic. They are friendly, enthusiastic. Have to have them on the team. Always optimistic. Man, we gotta get $1 million over here, and we only have 100,000. We can do it. I know how to do it. I know somebody. I can do it. Give me that chance. They want the limelight. You have to give them the limelight. You have to give it to them. Okay? Your S's, those are calm, loyal, relaxed, consistent. They're real steady. Good thing about them is they won't let you in right away. But when you're in, you're in. gonna go to the wall with you. They're steady. But it's gonna take a little while to get to know them. And at first you may be like, oh, it's really getting hard. Well, hey, D and I, slow down. Slow your pace. Be consistent. Be steady. So when you're dealing with a person that's doing evaluation and you know they're in that box, you gotta slow down and start, hey, does that make sense? Does that, what I just shared, you know, sometimes I get kind of scatterbrained talking about, does that make sense? And allow them to say, because you need to know what they're thinking as well. Of course, your C's up here, analytical. Gotta have them on the team. They're courteous, they're focused, systematic, precise, and fact finders. I worked with a guy at a county municipality, and I walked him through a coaching exercise. He was high C and leading the team. Leading the team. So that's good, and it's also challenging. Because one of the things about that, on the people that are C's and the S's, sometimes you have to kind of pull it out of them and pull them along to make decisions. Because they never think they have enough data. They don't want to be wrong. So you have to be careful. You want them, but you also have to understand what those opportunities are when you're trying to work with them in that organization. Because you have to let them know, it's okay. You have to make a decision, and it's going to be okay. The earth is not going to end because it's wrong. We learn from those failures, right? Absolutely. So we have to let our C's know that. Because, man, if you don't, they're going to get it. They're going to get every data they can find to make sure that they're factually right the first time. So, what I want you to do now is I ask you to think about somebody on your team. Because you self-identify who you are. Give me some characteristics maybe of that person that you're either trying to lead, having challenges leading. Where are they on this spectrum? And think about it. Where are you and where are they? Because this, well, it looks real pretty. Sometimes this is oil and water. Mix it up. And unless you know that and know how to mix oil and water, you're going to go home exhausted, tired, disappointed, and on Career Builder looking for another opportunity, but you can't take it anymore. Let's be honest, right? So this is important. And guess what? This is also your community that you serve. Whenever you're doing these programs, these marketing programs, and us marketers, when we start to look at things, this is kind of what we're looking at. When we come up with all these different approaches, grassroots, technical, high base, low base, it's all in here because when you're talking to the community, you got all of this and you have to figure out and make sure at least you're covering the bases enough to get your message out there. So let's see. Yes, sir.
Can you say those three again on the D?
On the D?
Yeah.
Risk taker, forceful, direct, self-reliant, competitive. And you'll get these in the slide. I apologize, I'm not a technical guy. Okay, so let's think about this. We're gonna quickly look at this. This looks at observable behaviors, needs, and fears. So, let's just take for an example. Who wants to win something?
All of us.
We'll go with my man right over here. Would you mind self-identifying where are you on this, if you don't mind, D, I, S, or C? You think yes, sir?
DIS.
DIS. And we all have a little component. When we take a survey, you actually measure out as one. And some of the bars sometimes are real close, but you have a dominant, you have a backup. D, probably with D. So if people saw you, they would see you as more direct, guarded a little bit, not the guy talking about what happened last night, last week. You're not a real let's get the work done. We got to do this. We got to get this project in. Boom, boom, boom. Task driver. Yes, ma'am. So here's what we know about these, right? When you think about the focus. Here's what they need. Here's some things to observe about them. And here are their fears. What they need challenges to solve problems. They need authority. They need that. Nothing like being a D and you don't have no authority to do anything. Your team may think that, but you need that authority. What you observe is that they're decisive. They're gonna make a decision, right or wrong, and they're risk takers. Man, every time he comes up with something, he makes a decision. He ain't right, but he's making a decision. So those are some of the clues observable that you may observe in people that you work with. Fears, being taken advantage of, or lack of control. Nothing scares a D like being in something and they aren't in control. man, they start to fidget when we have group exercises and group play. If they're not the one up leading the charge and leading the direction on the finder activity you got going on, they over there scrambling because they want to be in control. They're gonna set the tone, read the directions, tell people what to do, and get them moving. That's just who they are. That's their fear of losing that control. That's a fear of them. Why this is important is you have people on your team that you're leading. You have people you're looking to hire. You have people that you have performance issues with right now because you don't know how to coach them. When you start to apply this knowledge to all of that, you now begin to get answers on how to approach them, how to either slow your pace down, begin to ask questions, allow for them to say, hey, you know what? Why don't you go think about what I just shared, and then let's circle back maybe 15 minutes from now and tell me what you think. Because that S and that C, they already made that decision right now. Hey, we can circle back after lunch. I got time. Just slow down, D. Slow down. Let them process. It's not going to kill you. So when you have these types of focuses and understandings here, you now begin to understand what the problem tasks are. You understand the people aspects of them. You understand the pace in which you talk to them and how you approach. And then you also have the procedures, the rules to follow. So when you're going into your boss and you know your boss is a D and you have your evaluation going on, now is not the time to come out with the War and Roses piece you wrote about how great you are. Give that boss 3 or 4 dynamic points about you, and that's what they're looking for, okay? And if you're gonna write your own evaluation for your boss to sign, start out with those 3 or 4 points and substantiate it on the back end. Guaranteed they're not gonna read everything. They're gonna read the first 3 or 4 points. I agree with it, check, and keep moving. That's what I mean by knowing your value proposition and how to communicate and manage the person that's either managing you or the team that you're trying to lead. When you're delivering content, a lot of you are going to be doing performance appraisals coming up, right? So how do you begin now to help those people self-identify and then communicate that information? What do you know about it? You better know something because it's going to affect your delivery, what you deliver, how you deliver it, and the feedback is going to be expected, especially if it's a tough evaluation. It can be done. This is the secret to help you with that. So, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Before I do it real quick, any questions before I do that? Because we're going to switch gears and talk about adaptability. But what I've just talked to you about is self-identification, knowing some things about people that are D, I, S, or C, how to communicate, how to understand who they are, what they are, and et cetera, et cetera. Adaptability is how the adaptable people determine what types of behavior are most appropriate in specific situations. Adaptability is going to be what the key is for you. As that manager, it's not only important for you to know yourself and communicate yourself, you need to spend time studying this and understanding the people on your team and implementing this in your daily practice rituals, whatever huddles you may have, because this is the secret sauce to help you communicate to them effectively. Your expertise as a leader is to know this and implement this in your environment. It accelerates your performance, it accelerates your people, and it cuts down on ineffective communication. And basically you walk through the same thing. I'm not going to go through it again, but when you identify one style, we basically have done that. You ask these 2 questions. When you observe that person, and it's quiet, you observe it. It's observable behavior. May not be 100%, but it's really close. It's really close. So when you deal with adaptability, here's some clues to do when you're dealing with a D. And I apologize again. But you better be clear. You better be specific about what you're talking about. You better be prompt. You better be organized with an agenda. Boss, we're going to talk about these 3 things right here. 1, 2, 3. A random agenda. That's all I'm going to talk about. I'm in and out. I don't want to get to know you. I want to know what happened over the weekend. I'm talking about these 3 things. I'm in and out. Okay? The eyes, well, you got to give them a spot in the limelight. Hey, man, you did a project last week. Tell me how did that go? I heard great things, man. Talking about you in the city commission. Tell me about it. Eyes will light it up. Because they want everybody to know. Give them that limelight to let them do that, right? Create that atmosphere. You need them on your team because guess what? They're optimistic.
Yeah.
When things are down and it's tough and you're challenged, they got a solution. Might be crazy, but let them go. Sometimes you need crazy to fix crazy out there sometimes, okay? All right. So give them my S's over here. Give them opportunities to contribute to the entire class. You got to be patient. With my S's, you got to be patient. You have to ask. You have to be patient. Give them a chance. Ask questions, because those are the people that are behind the scenes cultivating all the relationships. They know everything and about everybody in that organization. You get to know them, they're going to tell you what the issues are. Well, what's wrong? Well, guess what? Susie over here had an issue at home this morning, and something's going on there, so we got to give her a little space today, boss. Don't ride to her. She's got some personal things going on. Just calm down and let me work with her. Give them a line. Work with them. Be patient with them. Okay, with my C's, much like the D's, be prompt, okay, and be precise. You better be accurate, okay, and allow them to think and be comfortable with silence. So my D's and I's, shut up. You got to be comfortable with silence. Give them that time. I'll give you one quick tip and a quick learn story dealing with in a C in a tough situation. And you all know what I mean by tough situations or performance evaluations, that it ain't ending well that day. That's tough. You better be prepared. Because they're not gonna say anything, they're gonna walk right out, they'll be fine. Phone ring Monday morning, hey Bill, this is Susie over in HR, can I see you for a minute? Or Sunday night, you get ready to go in, you see that calendar alert pop up, ding, HR, 8:30 in the morning. What? Now you gotta go in and they documented everything. They're factual. They got it laid out. You don't know who's on your team. You're not effectively coaching and managing and working with them. Better look out. I like C's, don't get me wrong, I'm not picking on them. Just I know when I deal with C's, I better have myself together. And I slow down. And I get real quiet. And I watch them. And I ask, hey, what do you think about that? And I'm okay with silence. So, but you better know who you're dealing with. So that's adaptability. These are the things you need to know to adapt. Yes, I'm getting hooked. 2 minutes. Wrap it up. Third, and I'm right on time. Remember the platinum rule. Practice identifying the behavioral styles. So practice this, take it in, and improve the communication. And adapting style is not always easy. It's not easy. I make it seem easy and make it a little fun, but it's difficult. It takes practice, it takes time. It takes your commitment to it. It takes you going outside that box to seek out consultants, people out there who are doing this to come into the organization and help implement this into the organization. I'm Curtis Johnson. It's been my pleasure. Here's my contact information. It's my second year here. I hope to be back next year. But thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you do in the communities. And again, I want to thank you again for the tremendous opportunity. Hopefully this has been helpful.